Generational. One word that should be rare, guarded, almost sacred, yet it gets tossed around like confetti every offseason. When Ryan Clark pushed back and said the club is tiny, naming Elway and Mahomes while leaving out legends who built dynasties, he cracked open a deeper fault line. Is greatness a résumé or a raw power that bends the game to your will? And when Dan Orlovsky countered with traits and pedigree, the room didn't just warm up, it ignited. That clash wasn't about two analysts disagreeing. It was about who gets to define the crown in the first place. Fans felt the hit because this isn't a barbershop argument anymore. It shapes careers. A label can boost a rookie into orbit or pin him under a microscope he didn't earn yet. Manning and Shedeur Sanders are caught right in the middle, walking opposite paths into the same hurricane, one lifted by a last name and a frame scouts dream about, the other forced to prove it every snap after sliding into round 5. When the word generational flies, it doesn't just create headlines, it reprograms expectations, contracts, and patience. The question is simple and brutal. Who deserves that word and who's still borrowing it? The debate exploded because the definitions were never aligned. If generational means an athlete whose presence changes the math, who forces defenses to junk coverages they trust, who completes throws that invalidate leverage and angles, then your list is short by design. That standard makes sense. The rarer the trait, the rarer the membership. It protects the word from becoming marketing copy. It also means some all-time winners still don't fit, which sounds blasphemous until you separate team legacy from raw, era-bending ability. On the other side sits a future-facing definition: height, processing speed, release quickness, GPS bursts, and bloodlines as a forecasting model. It's not empty hype. Projection is part of drafting. But when you crown too early, you invite a boomerang. Every stalled drive becomes proof the label was premature. Every wobble a referendum on your credibility. That's why the clip went viral. It wasn't about who yelled louder. It was that the audience finally saw how a single word can tilt an entire industry, and how the wrong tilt can crush a young quarterback before he takes his 4th read. Manning is the perfect canvas for projection. Polished mechanics, clean stature, a football education since childhood. The silhouette screams, Sunday ready. But the SEC refuses to be a backdrop for anyone's origin story. There are blitzes that don't declare, safeties who bait throws into invisible traps, edges who reset tackles with one hand. Projection meets pressure, and only then does a label hold. That's where viewers get whiplash, because highlight packages compress months into seconds while real development is jagged, stubborn, and loud. Quick favor, if you're still with me. The channel's still growing, and your signal actually changes what we can build. If you're enjoying this breakdown, tap subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment with your definition of generational. Think of it as tuning the algorithm's ear, so it surfaces smarter football talk, not just the loudest takes. Tell me which standard you buy: the era bender only view or the rare traits plus trending production view. Your comments shape what gets covered next, and your sub makes sure you see the follow-ups when this story twists again. Pedigree buys you time. The SEC spends it fast. Early stumbles are not scandal. They're the tuition of high-level quarterbacking. The windows are thinner, the pass rush is closer, and the disguised rotations punish lazy feet. Arch has shown touch and timing in flashes, and that matters. But flashes aren't the invoice paid in full. The job now is stitching those moments into drives where the ball leaves on time, with intent, to the leverage the defense gives you, 4, 5, 6 plays in a row. This is where generational often dies. On 2nd and 8 after a busted run, when a coordinator is hunting the rookie tendency to stare down the concept. It's not the trick throw to the field side fade. It's the boring decision into the boundary hitch because the corner's hips are cheating. That's how the elite extend games. If Arch wants to harden the label, he doesn't need a single viral play. He needs the quiet cruelty of consistent answers, the kind that make a veteran nickel whisper to the sideline. We don't have a call for that. Shedeur took the scenic route that critics hate and teammates love. Highly public college moments, a transfer into the storm, and then the draft night slide that writes narratives all by itself. 5th round. Quarterback room politics. a roster that didn't promise him anything. That's not sabotage. It's the league's default setting. But then the preseason tape gave him something projection never could: evidence. The ball came out with purpose. The pocket footwork looked composed, and the eyes moved coverage just enough to open a window that didn't exist a heartbeat earlier. The counterpoint arrived instantly. Preseason isn't Sunday. True, but traits under contact are traits under contact, and command looks the same in August and November. The climb for Shedeur is brutally simple. Keep converting doubles into singles, stack clean series, neutralize the "yeah, but." Depth charts are slow until they change fast, and quarterback rooms turn on trust, not noise. A single 3rd and 9 dagger can do more damage to a narrative than a month of debate. One drive can change the pecking order. 3 can change a season. Hype is efficient because it shortcuts thinking. A famous last name isn't just marketing. It's a cognitive anchor. Scouts tell themselves they're immune. No one is. You see a pro-ready frame, a compact stroke, a clean arc to the top of the drop, and your brain fills in outcomes that haven't happened yet. The other trap is pretty misses. A mechanically beautiful incompletion can seduce evaluators more than an ugly completion that moved the sticks. That's how labels metastasize, on aesthetics, not outcomes. The inverse bias crushes late bloomers. If your path isn't pristine, if you come from the wrong conference, if your protection was chaos, if your coach made you improvise, then every success gets graded with an asterisk. Shedeur's arc is allergic to asterisks. His best weapon is boredom. Hit the back foot, rip the second window, flip field position, jog off. Do it again. Boring football ends arguments because there's nothing left to argue with. Once a defense expects the right answer, panic starts living in their drop. That's when labels change from outside in to inside out. Here's the test defenses use to sort quarterbacks into buckets. Pre-snap, do you hunt leverage or stare at matchups? Post-snap, do your feet and eyes tell the same truth? Under pressure, does your arm slot flex without sailing? None of those traits care about your last name. They care about whether you punish indiscipline with routine throws. Generational players aren't magic tricks. They're rule breakers. They tilt the field by making coordinators abandon their favorite calls, not by living on YouTube angles. That's why Clark's standard resonates. It's not disrespect, it's a firewall. Keep generational so rare that the game itself has to invent new answers to stop you. Elway's hose rewired what deep outs were supposed to look like into the wind. Mahomes made backside space dangerous without laces or platform. If Arch wants that tier, he needs to force the SEC to erase plays from the call sheet. If Shedeur wants that tier, he needs to make coordinators abandon simulated pressures because he keeps replacing where the rusher came from, on time, relentlessly. When defenses change, not opinions, you're getting close. The segment detonated because it didn't just challenge players, it challenged media muscle memory. Too many conversations start with sizzle and retrofit the steak. When Orlovsky leans into upside and Clark yanks the label back behind lock and key, fans finally get to interrogate the scaffolding. What are we actually measuring? Is it a clock time, a frame, a last name? Or do we measure how a quarterback vandalizes third downs, even when everyone in the building knows where the ball should go? There's also a cultural itch here. People are tired of coronations that arrive before the parade route is paved. Crowning is easy. Crowns are heavy. The internet clipped the fireworks, but the subtext is what stuck. A generation of fans wants a standard that survives slow motion. If Arch clears it, nobody will need a press tour. If Shedeur clears it, the 5th round tag will look like an artifact from a dumber timeline. Either way, the field gets the last vote, and that's the only ballot that counts. Let's pin it down. Generational means era-bending tools plus sustained domination, not just against anyone, but against defenses engineered all week to erase your first answer. It's not a quarter, not a month. It's a body of work that forces coordinators to junk their identity. Elite prospect means rare trait stack, plus an upward slope you can chart on film. Faster processing and mirrored looks, better pocket depth discipline, fewer YOLO throws into robber help. 2 different labels, 2 different clocks, both earned. For Arch, the path is linear. Command the boring, defeat the disguised, then detonate the explosives that were there all along. For Shedeur, the path is geometric. Every poised rep multiplies trust, and trust moves you up the room whether people tweet about it or not. The label will follow the film or it won't. Either outcome is fair. The key is that we stop letting a single word steer the story before the story exists. Keep the bar high. Keep the tape central. Keep the crown locked until the door doesn't hold anymore. Coaches stop calling plays they love because you punish them, not once, but predictably. Safeties stop cheating because your eyes lie to them without your feet lying to your line. Pass rushers aim for wrists instead of launch points because the ball leaves at tempos that break their angles. It's subtle at first. One coordinator uses fewer fire zones on third and medium. Another lives in quarters because you keep ripping digs against hole defenders who thought they were sitting pretty. That's how eras actually bend, not with posters, but with plan sheets. You can feel it when it happens. Stadium noise goes weird because the crowd senses inevitability before the scoreboard changes. Teammates huddle differently because 3rd and 7 feels like 2nd and 4. Broadcasters stop begging for keys to the game because the only key is you, and everybody knows it. That's the standard the word generational is supposed to protect. It's not meant to make a trailer. It's meant to describe a reality that already refuses to be ignored. If you came for a coronation, there isn't one. The smartest thing we can do for both quarterbacks is to keep the word expensive and the film central. Arch Manning carries a blueprint that could be special once the reads speed up and the throws repeat under stress. Shedeur Sanders carries a ledger of answered moments that need to compound against top units when the lights get meaner. One is building the floor, the other is attacking the ceiling. Neither needs our permission. Both need more snaps under honest pressure. I'll keep tracking this without the noise, and I want you in the loop when the tape shifts. If this breakdown helped, hit subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment with your standard for generational. Tell me the first game that made you believe a quarterback had bent an era, college or pro. Your feedback doesn't just help the channel, it sharpens the next deep dive, which means better analysis in your feed and fewer empty crowns in your timeline. The word will take care of itself. The field always does.